Itinituhun, itinituhun, gehalom, hinasun idzahululo, mahanetnon, ihinafasiha, tai hinekok, zantaitsi, gehalom, hinasun idzahululo, gehalom.
Amot Para I Hinemlo'ta is a look at Chamorro Traditional Healing Practice as it exists today. Having survived over 4,000 years amidst conquest and wars, the Western influence in our society, there is a great concern today as to whether it can even survive the next 2 generations. Amot is often referred to by the people of the Marianas as medicine or herb, but there is also a different meaning when used as a verb. It means dispossess, deprive by force, take something away, or perhaps in this context, it could also mean reclaim. Para I Hinemlo'ta, translated, means for the recovery and restoration of our health. This documentary looks at the current state of Chamorro Traditional Healing Practice and the challenges in preserving Amot as medicine to restore the health of the indigenous people of the Marianas. Can the indigenous people of the Marianas, Amot, take back, reclaim, recover, and reestablish a community of believers to restore their health? Dr. Tricia Lizama, a descendant of a healer, professor, mother of 6, has spent the past 5 years searching for those answers. She joined up with a team with Hadza Foundation and together journeyed throughout the Marianas, meeting and interviewing Imanzo Amtisiha, our Chamorro traditional healers. The healers shared their experiences, their challenges, as it relates to the impact of Western influence and colonialism, as well as their hopes for the perpetuation of their practice. This documentary is a compilation of the stories of healers and of those diligently working towards the preservation and perpetuation of the traditional Chamorro healing practice.
When I was growing up, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandma used to always make Amot. A lot of us were treated, umpteed when we were children. Why aren't we doing this anymore? If it helped us, if these are the memories that we have, the stories that we grew up, what kind of stories am I going to tell my children? My grandma died when I was in high school, and so we didn't really carry it on. And so when I was doing my dissertation, I thought, I needed to have a lot of questions answered. So I thought, what a better way to do research, right? And I wanted to find a topic, and I went through different topics, but what resonated with me was I needed to do something with my own culture, right? I needed to pick something where I was not just going to write a dissertation, but I wanted to contribute to building the knowledge of our culture, because there isn't very many things that are written about our Chamorro culture. I've been doing my research for about 5 years now, right? And I've had an opportunity to interview over 30 traditional healers in Guam, Saipan, Rota, and Tinian.
When you say you're a suruhånu, you're carrying a very, very high title of healing and having ability to heal people. And that also, in that concept, it has to be passed down by your forefathers to your generation, their generation to you.
Treating people because I felt like I need to do it. And if I turn them, I feel guilty about it and I don't feel right. So I need to while I'm still alive and I still can do it, then I'm gonna go for it. But if I cannot, I will let you know that I cannot treat you at this certain day.
Ututuhun tumungo iamot di ane 20 años. 20 years. Mauli ko todo.
Okay. Taza,
Siya ukog dis ni manggagaw umutot.
so Taza, high blood, Taza, diabetes,
Taza, cholesterol.
Mauli.
You look at a person that have an interest, love, patience, and what you call this charitability heart, and what you call that kind and sacrificial, of his time and what you call that sacrifice himself to a sick person, for a sick person like what I'm doing. This is a rare gift.
Gua si Fermina Ogoblas, Totoluta. Lawas mo ligon sa Sti Amot Ta. Sa Sti Amot Ta man hunggi jo na Sti pinini na unsagi pinini na ihaka nung tungo na amon ne pom pinamauli. Pagwa ngin ti pinamauli ka on Sti na amon. Kasi ito na niya sa karon ng hospital.
Pues gua si Tomas Duenas medio. Di sa na ba olog jo am tido patofa. Lo hungan mana am tido. No di dia lo kue na klasen. No pinadesi si jo amte na fuesan hagonado siya ne mangai ge. Gelem tono ne ini ge. Kanuta.
Inaano si Carmen Batuon? Tatoluta? Za Amti Amot Tininong San Antonio. Jadi uno na hagon na tungkun amot no una sesebi agonnya.
Ina ando sa Florencia Manibusan Bokra. Ito tono na makamtizo di 1970. Ano malangoy layo at tututong manamti. Hindi Dr. Bueno 38 anos.
Gua si Bitor Manibusang Mora ginintinian si tinituno nesti putbandan amot no gua atatago sinanaw pranong tano ni babe rikohi to dia mo offer na klasin amot pumapatinas ja gof magubzo ni istina klasin tinimo sa ayudanti para diferentes klasin cenno di sinya taonti.
No amota tumadanya tan tinaita tan iji okay no hinengi hinengi na debit na tahongi na mauli para hita no pero different pero para medgood ihinengi para gua mampus importante.
Nanu si Dano Beneventi Mendiola. No tata sa Chamorro Chamoru. Pues yani para be maybe anos. Ajane no kulmaru no interesado sa nezo. Do mano do faisen si biahu nanan tataw. Kosinya fana bizo no amo do naizo ni tingonya ni fana bizo.
Lano si Ignacio Salas Concepcion. Mafanyago to gini da sa ipan, lumangkulon sa ipan to. Pavedak puramot ibiyaw sa sua kolnizo. Paven spiyay tongkunamo siya jetbus. Kus gini nedyo na utungo siya po after siya klase na amot.
Hi, my name is Rosa. In the future, if I see that my grandchildren are not interested, it will make me sad, and because I'm so eager for them to learn it, but I can't do anything. So if anyone, I'm willing to pass it on for as long as they will promise me that they will do the medicine, help the people, and not to lose, because I don't want this to, end it.
Tomorrow
In this kind of profession or this kind of trade, or should I say ability, you need to be committed. You need to be committed. You sacrifice a lot of your family time, and you need to be strong in your mind and in your heart.
See, the thing about it is, how honest and faithful can they be?
They be looking at healers who confirm Haji, man, authentic healers, and Haji just self-proclaim. Apology says self-proclaim. Cinema proclaim shallow the official name and recognize.
We're only treating, we're called the healers, but there's only one person that would heal, is the one up there. He's the one that does the healing.
Unata ni malongo na dangkulo na respeto da gloria buenti alla cuenta beol purena para tanahumlo na penalisimo na.
Patience has to be in there, and the love and caring and opening. You need to have that, and you cannot just pretend.
Debitali para hafano ma taiwihi na ceno jata amti aja no ma ceno nunda kagalumeno con todo espiritual debe di orang sa ti fisikan mo para ta amti con todo i antimo jani hinasomo da sineno mano tatti stede na mafanako ja anu geno sempre ko este na cenon mo no cenon niga pa este na cenon pat ko este na cenon sinya talahomlo pati sinya talahomlo para este na cenon cuántos años están en gote la siga mona na este na cenon.
The simplest thing to do is the application. That's the easiest. But going out there to look for the herbs is the hardest thing.
Itiningo esti jo amti primera na suko na gaigigi para un masta yalum taon ilugar sa itungkonato siya ni mangaigigi no guahano dangkulo no na respeto po kita ini na ilang gintaatan yalum taon.
But learning the medicine is not just, it's not like going in there and having a degree for a doctor. No. It all depends on your energy, on your body. Learning the herbs, and here you are, even if we teach you how, and you start giving that treatment to that person and it doesn't heal. So it wasn't, because even for us, I give myself 3 days. If there's a slight change out of the 3 days, I urge them to go and seek another person, especially on that's end of my. Just 3 days and no changes and everything is the same, then I cannot heal that person. You need to switch it. Go to another healer.
The biggest thing that I learned being at Gumazomti for the past month and a half that I've been there is the gift of giving. And I believe that that's what took me the most when I went there. I mean, learning about the plants and how to tell the difference between a fake one and a real one, or what herbs go in, what 27 herbs goes into that Amot Tenino and everything, that will come. But the best thing that I learned from there right now that I'm grasping is the gift of giving, is to not want to do this because of what you're going to get in return, but to give it as a gift because it's a gift of God. It's a gift of healing, or it's a gift of, being a community and wanting good for others, and if we have that gift to give, why not give it full-heartedly? Nowadays, and that's tradition. Tradition is about like trading what I have and what I grow and what I can give, right? And nowadays it's a different currency, which is money and things that take us away from the home. In order to help someone, you yourself have to have good energy, because you cannot heal or you cannot help if you yourself is struggling, if you yourself is having the same stress that person comes to you asking to take away. So also too, like, for you to make sure that you're clean, so then you can be able to help. And that's what's making me want to do this even more.
All of us have good hearts, And so, let's say a patient, when a patient is told by a healer, I'll come back for 3 days so that I would continue with what I'm doing with you. And I, as a patient who feels much better the first day, I would say to myself, oh, I'm going to do a favor. I'm not going to bother him, the healer, anymore. And so I don't go back. So here am I thinking, I'm happy about that decision that I made because I'm thinking I'm making him happy, but the opposite actually is happening. By not coming back to the healer when you were told to come 3 days, you're causing that healer to have the sickness that you have, or will not be happy. The healer will not be happy because maybe he prepared things for you. So it's very, very important in native medicine that you follow instructions.
No, un parte non è così importante. Lo más importante quello, azu ti paronenati talo. Zaman non si talo mo ki Japon. Sotto be se pisa pa ba amtio. Ti prophet na acción ya no funciona. Pues ti pareo en este hospital. Sa este mogi mientras te visita mas mauli.
I explained to you and Zita, the lady that gave me this medicine, I explained you, remember?
Yes, Regina Terlahi.
Right, but not to business.
Yes.
Not for business.
Yes.
Because you will never make your patient good if you're, especially for me, no good. If I'm making business on the medicine, no good. Man hungi hao ne ju, enigi tinagu ju usun na luga jibiya. Na humlu ipat gun na humlu itaw taw, gini na sinyamu munga ginin interesaw put sa lapi. Sometimes they give me meal, bread, eggs. I accept. That's gracia. I will not say what because they put it on the table. That's a blessing. Minagof niya ito.
Ang yin manaihaw sa lapi, right? Ang mapologi lamasa. Ko una accepta sa lapi?
Who accepta sa gaigi ki lamasa. Zailing niya, Julie esti sa minagof mami sang nahumlu ipat ko. See, only that. But I tell them, if you guys need the money, don't use it. Use it for the baby or whatever. Nga no, minago figuration mamis ti pakaw. E no ha ilik niya, imo nga umuklasi ang pumpanampi. Umuklasi means, like when you don't like the person, munya matsuoy no gitang to isaw. Isaw no. Kudi ti jamu iklasin itang to ti para un accepta jan amti. No. Munya.
Paraguaho anta tanesti i doktor spitazani i dok man amti no gua claro na differencia gua ha izuna na amot gua ha izuna chetnod zangin gua ho amti nei azani na jizu tisinya be ho amten maisa zo Zita otro log ata chulino gati ki western como gua ho ni doctor estikina amot chinotto sinya be ho Singna chinotto per temperatura mama den sena tauta sinya izmismana amoni raji tauta sinya be amti sa temperatura mami lo ginegi am natibune guaizina na chenotti sinya tegano pus para guaho anok na tisinya anok na gaigesti ibanda namot no natibo gi just poron setbi otto tipon setbin mais saho documento gua gini museum giza garapan giza saipan no skeleton estine skull no ma skull na maguado kestina skull gi gini na giza tinian zane ma date about 500 years ago Istinay ko no kalabera. Izi zonya skone e kalaberanya. Anog na dinansi isti magi dalberanya dinansi tito kolansa parafa no lo humomro ahiugwe izi te lang ahiugwe no zagina bina tempone thajasti penicillin ni pro pune na siya lo atana sa no ahiugwe na pues antes na tempo siya ko amun ni si pero tuwag na siya lo kay man addi na klasen siya no.
I'm interested in the cultural or our traditional medicine mainly because I feel that that's the Chamorro contribution to the world. You know, that this is something that we shouldn't ignore. It was God gave us the wisdom and the knowledge to use these plants that He created Himself, and for us to use for our own health. So that's why I think that this is an important tradition to continue and to preserve.
And then it kind of made me think about, well, why aren't we doing it, right? People didn't talk about taking their own children to get umptied. And then I had to think about myself. And my mom, gratefully, my mom took my children to be umptied, but I never went with her, right? And I thought, well, this is not grandma's duty, like I should go.
Guahadang kululin anu no nalon jo songa na talu itutun podeji kota descuida hit pada atana itatutsuli na leksyon ginin hijum okay na umahalum zata momostre na taigwisya molik pertatsomi guana bene bukaka sa siludo asuko magana Sina ina reclama sistemona panohi pues sinanahone ay titakla lo na bia lo guahano manironya lo que ne chechitun di cultura sia da debi o matatizi di taiwi eno na ninasinya ohi ti hu aligo para baisina do manam ti parafan toza taiwi no lao Estima Chamorro ne da cultura lo questi na danginilingnya sina na Taiwini dan Zita pues esta libre di Taiwini man ji Taiwino ne ay ti hono zonatico monogato da Taiwini ti pareo no 18 años no taweno do tira che Taiwino ne no taiwi tale je koni to ni manam ko da tapolo ya manam ko senta do fambingo fanno afasi na klase no taiwi no gaigina i urijana i amko na tauto okay gaigina haatana i hinanao i familia sia li pawezu na klase no arreglo i koni manam ko pega Koni famagun pega no ungutus i usa za información eti tatolong na lastima eti información manam ko na pausiga manhono za toza po fanyuli no umbes guaho considera na dang kuloswetizo na manosgizo sa i Malagoa bitte par no tio aso la hodene altono se potinice lao suetizo sa ma fuerzas zombis quasi poco na tempo ma separa imanamko dan imanhobi pues uno gi halomi i moling na tapikura after mano na patahagung connect esti la separación imanamko dan imanhobin.
The kids right now are not in an environment where they are safe to be themselves, and I will honestly say that because you have social media, you have these, now they can compare and contrast even more than they do at their own schools, like with just seeing people. Now they're thinking about how many likes they get in a day, and now they're thinking about, like it says, it's even hard to have a relationship nowadays because everyone thinks that they have all these choices that you can have because of social media, because it's so easy to communicate and see each other and what their lives are all about. So I think it's kind of like talking to the youth and giving them more of a foundation of self-esteem when it comes to suicide. When it comes to diseases, high blood pressure and all that stuff, I feel like we need to encourage people to care about themselves, because if you don't care about yourself, it's a ripple effect of a lot of things.
A lot of us were treated, umpteen when we were children, and everybody had stories, lots of stories to tell me about their mom or their grandma or their cousin. I mean, tons of stories, because what I was finding was it wasn't a subject that people weren't really talking about. But as soon as you brought it up, people would say to me, "Oh yeah, my grandma used to make medicine," or "Yes, I used to drink that. Oh, the lorigao, that is so bitter. Ew." Everybody, like when you say lorigao or the medicine for the mouth, it brought back memories.
Za Paraguaho gitu tuhun ne, just to get wesangan di puri sisay healers no, gitu tuhun ne bula tanto. Gan gitu tuhun bula mas man zo amti ki mamolofan siati, per esempio agna tempo zangi mamolofan tempo no itauto y comunidad ma hongi padena pues gaigi na kan easy, if you know English, we are within the community of believers, pues mas no med good and mas no mapartitika mas celebrate no na tiningo zan aano ki minoleg niya lo dispesa ni guahasta o tuna class in Amot, it's the Western medicine the pioza ni matutun eno kalan mama sangani tauto mas hano guatu gini hospital mongama so gima por ejemplo tagi impon fanyago no staba ni bulai na fanana ke famagun gi gima sa guasta petera lo dispesa ni hospital mama sangani tauto hano hospital zainagi no una razón guahizi mas isi para tafanana hospital zaizgina una razón lokina tita ta lo lalazino mas para ta panhana para iman zo amtisa guas hospital pas mangagi ganun na situation pago.
And then my last son, right, doing all this work, taking him, being pregnant, taking him, into the jungle with me while he was in my stomach. I never got him umpty, and I thought, what a hypocrite, right? I'm doing all this work, we're doing all this research, we're talking about perpetuation and preservation and how we should preserve these practices, and he was already, a few months old, and I didn't get him umptied, and I knew he should have when he was a baby, and I waited for him to get sick, and even when he got sick, I kind of still hesitated. And I had to think to myself, like, why are you hesitating? You know it works. All your other children got umptied. You've seen children be umptied. You work with the zo umpties. Why are you hesitating? And I had to think hard about that. And I think part of that is my struggle with the Western thinking, and being educated in the Western world. It's like I have this constant struggle every day, about what I know is important for my children to learn and to know, and what the Western world tells me that is important for them to know, and that's just a constant struggle, and that's my own, inner battles. She told me to come and bring my boy, and she umptied him, and I was still very scared, right? Because I asked her, I said, Auntie, no disrespect, I just want to know, how do you know that the medicine is not gonna go, he's not gonna choke, right? I don't want him to choke. And I said, don't be offended, right? Because I know I'm questioning your knowledge, and that's not my intent. And she said, a day, okay, listen to where the medicine's gonna go. And so I heard the medicine go, the air go down all the way to his belly. I saw him drink it, and she said, after she was done treating him, she said, you know how I know? It's gonna come out of his nose. Do you see it coming out of his nose? So she was scolding me because I know that I shouldn't have questioned her. But again, that part of me, struggles to, just, accept that this is just the way that we've been doing things. She's, almost 80 years old. She's been doing this for like over 40 years. Would you question the doctor? Did you ever say anything about, hey, this albuterol, what kind of side effects is it going to have, on my boy? And honestly, I didn't question him. I just said, I'll pick up the medicine at the pharmacy and I'm going to try it.
And even too, when you take all these pills nowadays, like you go to the doctors, I don't think they assess you as long as they used to. And I feel like when I'm at Gumazo Amti, I feel that they ask all the questions that they want to get to know and get deeper. And your shoulder may be hurting, but they'll ask about your whole body. Your mind and your headaches may be coming, but they'll ask you more about your life. It isn't about just what's going on with your body, but now they're looking into what is triggering this.
We can never go back to who we are until we decolonize our minds. Because when the Chamorros are colonized, it's not that they're colonized their land. They're also colonized in the mind. I'm a U.S. citizen by force, not by choice. I have no rights to choose my citizenship.
Our people I feel, are suffering from a lot of unnamed diseases. And it's not diseases that you catch from like a mosquito or something. It's diseases of the heart and of the mind. Our people, they're lost. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they belong, and they don't know where they came from. They feel like they are a people without a direction, and so that's why I feel Hadza could really help them to understand where they came from and where we're supposed to be going. What I think is that our young people, they're too distracted. That's the first thing. They're too distracted with the different things that we have to distract ourselves with our phones, which are constantly on, with Facebook, which is constantly on our mind. We don't have time to sit down and to appreciate what is given to us. That's why there's so many of us are kind of losing our own ways, because we don't ever look around. We're always looking down onto a screen, but never looking at the people around us. Never true connection, no true connection there with others. And most especially, if you don't have that, then you have no connection with yourself, and most especially with God. It's impossible. And so that's one thing. We have to get them away from their distractions. And secondly, what we need to do is that we need to be able to let them know that we're here. They'll come. They will come.
And again, lekuna masyama matalalaka kuturata matalalaka I kasindilanalata munga zumutina afi min naulakesti I amot no natibo sa maulenya hasta para pago deste pago ne maulenya kini amot hospital I para famagon deste kan angin no di pro mana ga deste kan pag mafanyago pes tori if malawan siya gwasa no laboratorio no ni pa man selbi tori siya mangay ki za healthy za lo gef bonito zangin matabibera tati za tan selbi tori dos sa pargwa ki segungi li paraho ki istisay I man amtina visita anok na más efectivo, más maulik I amot nativo para manho para famaguon. Más maulik ini amot hospital. Pues como ta comprende man no que at least guha prueba, guha no prove dan guha ti sinata ta pandura pereste sa anok na magay ungan magay más no efectivo I para amor neni I amor nativo kini amor hospital.
Pues man magutusid na. Ko hindi ko baikali ko man magutusid gi haleta. Como to mismo gi islata mismo. Man magutusid. Pues may lalo kay zabay na atot si za tapaod ho. Za un family na ano gitu. Zaman ada tapikura isang halong.
The two common themes are one, the access to medicine. That some of the amots or some of the plants are very difficult to find, or they're not being found where they used to grow, so you have to trek a lot further into the jungle to have access. And the other issue on Guam is a lot of these medicines are behind the fence, right? So you have to have military access to be able to gain entry onto the base, or you have to get a permit onto Retidian to be able to access the medicine. So a lot more steps than just kind of going into the jungle and walking and getting what you need.
One is I cannot go in there to my God-given rights to pick medicine in Anderson because we're being locked out of our sacred lands. Two, they're bulldozing the jungles of the island.
Dulu nai mana fandos ke siang tano. Ejiki pak bu na mama tu masuda I amot.
Za wana bene hana susus tu hit za luluhan hit na masesi di siapa orang na tip na pudi amo di federal di sina ugat tu sa gagi estigin paluma pa dafasia kulan ti manadan si oh za utungo ha na todo este leling fish and wildlife na para na importante gaiga eno gi costumbreta gaiga hombres este lo siana edi soko biologist man matto magi daling sa itgi afadru ifani sa itgi no afadru crow ezigi tagini pus durman mangi za itinigi ni amat tay no ajim ko matitinas pa ko palasi da nafasi jalat sini ina soko na tagini mungkin man malagaw man ikingo lo questioni kau mahuhumo ko apa masasangan na isa importante siya mo za kulan malagwe na pata sangoni siya manggay siya na ileling fish and wildlife siya na federal siya na apa malaga tafamentos za tachowe cultura na manera saya nasuko na parewa hinasusustadan siya apa malagota na para mas mega na ito iman mamela na generasyon no sinalo ko ma-enjoy ito parewa mo na pisini na klase za mega siya na itali na klase no fa impedimento za wano aso facilita na titacoco i cultura sa dangin taco i cultura tosa necessario neno sa gaigi agi cultura na mafatina sa na para ususteni gi hafa un cosecha no por sostener mais sagi pesilele ko na itrunconoso como ta comprende itrunconoso no inasoko na sina tausan para tatamti kululone di cenok tahu ni na lugar siya mege sina man inamti no etun kun hoja siya dan ofase menggaidi na gi urizata.
What drives me the plant spirits, the plant medicine itself, and keeping this knowledge, our sacred ancestral knowledge, belongs to our people. It has sustained our people for millennia, and this needs to stay in our hands, and we need to give this back to our children and our future generations.
In terms of the perpetuation, many, if not all, the traditional healers want to pass on their knowledge. But the difficulty is that although they've identified a child or children or grandchildren, their children are not willing to take on the practice. You know, they have a lot of, and probably because the healer or the zo'amti has many hardships, right? They have to work early in the morning. Most of them had jobs, so they had to work in between their jobs.
It's a fact. Well-known healer Stibula Tinungonya from Safi to Tanamai Pitodo. But because this person realized that it was a difficult thing to do, to be one like that, purposely he did not give all of what he knew to his children. He just limited. So he knew some things that he purposely did not get because he did not want the children to go through the hardship or go through what he went through. So that is a factor in the decrease of the practice and the number of people. The availability of the plants too.
And the other issue is being a healer, a zo'amti, you're not paid a steady paycheck. I mean, you're given, for the most part, you're given goods, you're given rice or chicken. Some of them are given money, some of them are not accepting of the money. And so that's a hardship, because they kind of rely on things that people give.
Ti makanisti kumuun atituji kumetungu pus pauguloki I birado u nanai hemplu I mas pagunu nja u kadgamo nastiloki natiningu ginengwa ginnas nanao jani biam mami pus kulang pagu dididi no mamakat pata pananogi man hobin sa ganan niya man mano mampasyo man solan lokumu dididi u nahi fesa ja u afesas para minaulik niya izona tiningon ta Doctor sina tumuli tiningonta lo ibrao nina fan mauli para minaulik niya.
So how we're trying to deal with this issue is we're trying to build an apprenticeship.
What I'm seeing, Zita, is your effort and the drive to revitalize and practice and having places for plants to be. It's really remarkable, and I thank you for doing that. And all everyone else who see that, it's important, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? No, and I'm happy that we're doing it, and you are a great factor on Guam doing that.
I've lived in Seattle for 13 years. I moved home about 5 years ago, and I got my degree in herbal science, and that through Bachelor University. And my goal was to learn as much about herbal medicine and the scientific aspects of it, with the goal of bringing it home and understanding more about our Amot. And the inspiration behind that was my grandmother, and following her and picking Amot with her, and just realizing that this is something we need to really hold on to and perpetuate. So that was really the driving force living in Seattle.
I'm interested in Gumuzoamti and pretty much Hadza Foundation in general because of the movement to keep the tradition alive. I want also to promote health in a way that is safe and just more so of how our ancestors did it. I mean, if they can survive for so many years off of the land, I believe that we can bring it back and add to what we're doing now.
We're constantly tearing down our jungles for the concrete jungle and relying on Western medicines, which sometimes doesn't really save us from what we're looking for. And every time that I've seen traditional medicine at work, I've seen nothing but smiles and tears of happiness because of what they were doubtful about. Traditional medicine ended up exceeding their expectations by far. So that's what drives me every day.
We have to remember that the food that grows around your location, that's what nature is saying, this is for your body. So we really then need to appreciate and start looking and seeing the value of food that grow like here in the Marianas, Guam, Saipan, and start eating them. The fresher they are. They say too, like even fruit, when you take a fruit from a tree, if you eat it within 20 minutes, you get most of its nutrition and its energy. But if it stays in the shell for, you don't have as much of that energy as it had when you first pick it. And sometimes, so there are a lot of energies all around. Sometimes people have read it that trees have healing energies. So sometimes people, they say, you can just sit down and put your back on a tree, in the trunk of a tree, and be there for so many minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and you would get some energy from the tree.
Well, I believe that healing comes from the land, and I learned at an early age from my great-grandmother to my grandmother and many of my aunties about that we can heal each other, and the youth especially, from using our native medicine and also eating the food that we grow. So for me, it's important for me now as a mother of my own 2 boys that I teach them how to connect with the land, and we grow our own food, and when they're sick, use traditional medicine, because for centuries our people and our land have thrived by using Amot from the land and eating the food that we grow. And we have this, to me, there's a sacred connection between the plants that we grow and the plants that are around us in our environment on the land, that that kind of healing goes hand in hand. So it's important for me, and that I see there's a health crisis on our island, and within the last 60 years, that we've been importing food, we can see that our people are suffering. So when I have family and friends, suffering from illnesses, it makes me want to do something about it. And for me, my passion is growing food and sharing plants with others, and gifting. Instead of a gift that I might buy at the store, I might give them a papaya plant, or sharing the fruits of our land, and healing goes hand in hand with that. Like the old saying goes, food is medicine.
The difference between traditional medicine and traditional, anything pretty much compared to what's going on now. Everything now is about this, but I know my ancestors weren't about that. They were about this. They're about love. I mean, we just learned today about language and the beauty of the language and the depth of the language being who we are, and we need to more so think about that. Our people didn't do things because they wanted something in return. They did something because it was of love and of light, and it was to take care of everybody.